Welcome back, Terrible Warriors, to a sequel episode. We recorded too much Dune. We spent too much time making our noble house, and we needed another bit of time to get our characters in order. And so, welcome to the second chapter of our Session 0 of Dune, Adventures in the Imperium by Modiphius. So if you haven't already listened to the last episode, well, this is a direct sequel. We pick literally right back up where we left off. We're not going to catch you up. So go back, listen to that other one. You're not going to know what we're talking about when we mention about our houses or any of the stuff we've learned about Dune, because now we're acting like we're experts. But keep in mind, only one of us has ever read the book. Can you guess who? It wasn't me. And here we are on the other side. So, you might think that we're just been hanging out this whole time and only seconds have passed for you, but what has really happened is we have folded space and we have looked through time and we have seen what is yet to come, and we know the terrible purpose that we cannot avoid, and we have our characters prepared. Does that sound Dune enough for you, Sean?
That sounds about right, yep.
So
that'll do it.
We have our house made, and we've gone through and we've created our characters, because we need a little extra time to just look over that and get our concepts ready and take a break. And it's actually been 2 weeks for us, and now we're back. So what I don't have is specific numbers or my talents. I'm not going to worry too much about filling out all the talents today, because they're just like picking out feats in Dungeons and Dragons, and we can do that after the fact. But what I want to cover is our backgrounds, the role we fill in House Iosys, any traits we've got. And what's really fun is the statements and focuses you can write in yourself. So it's a little bit like Fate. So it's certainly like Star Trek Adventures, but we have drives and we have skills. Drives, duty, faith, justice, power, and truth, combine with your skills: battle, communicate, discipline, move, and understand, for every die roll in the game. So when you are up against a challenge and you want to roll the die, you combine one drive with one skill. So you might be using battle a lot in a fight, but why are you using battle? You would look to your drive. Are you doing it because of your sense of justice? Are you doing it because of your duty? Are you doing it because of your following truth? That is up to you as the player to justify. Now, obviously, we've got the higher numbers on drives. You're going to want to roll in that direction. Anyway, there's a whole thing on the strategy of rolling these dice that I really enjoy, and that you're constantly forced to kind of metagame with your character sheet to maneuver the die to get the best possible results for you every time. But we'll see that they've thrown in some rules in the way to prevent you from completely gaming the system every time you roll the die, which I enjoy. So for now, we want to cover the flavor of these characters that we can fill in, and then we'll worry about the fine details after the recording before I post them up onto our Patreon page. So I had an idea as we were looking at Iosys. They have produced, they're producing the rice on this planet, the rice that is the staple across the galaxy or across the known universe. And they have a secondary trait in politics, in particular couture fashion, that they're using to maneuver their way into court. So now people are not just eating our food, they're also wearing our brands. And we're making our way through. But I feel like Iosys is also a minor house that's new on the scene, and we're making our first moves only because House Welderine just dislikes us. We don't have a lot of enemies yet, and between our recordings, the reason they dislike us we wrote down as debt, and I thought it would be interesting if we bought them out. And that's why we're in charge of the rice now. They used to be the other minor house that was more or less almost in charge of everything, and then we maneuvered them out of their holdings. But in doing so, we now owe them payment and assets or whatever it is, and they expect to be compensated for this defeat of theirs, because they have now lost their influence with House Atreides that we have the potential to gain. And that's sort of the setup of where Iosys is, and where all our characters are as agents of this house. And what were you thinking of being? Who would like to go first? Sean, would you like to bring in?
Sure, yeah.
You had a cool concept in mind.
I thought so. So one of the things with Atreides, spoilers for the book, they start to have really, really good soldiers who can actually rival the Emperor's Sardaukar. And that eventually becomes a problem for them, but we're 10 years before the book, so it's fine.
It's one of the reasons why they're apparently given Dune in the first place, is it's not really a gift, as it's more of a trap to lure them out and break them down so that they're no longer competing for power with the Emperor himself.
Yeah, because they are a threat. So I figured I'd be one of the early characters who's one of those first fighter type people. So he is a duelist named Aerith Mazar.
Aerith Mazar.
Yeah. So his whole deal is that he is very, very good at fighting, but also he's a bit of a troubleshooter for the house. So he's also quite observant. He's sort of a combination of those two things.
Yeah, I think you see the writing on the wall. You see where we are feeding the known universe. We need to protect that, and we need to protect those holdings, because certainly a house like Harkonnen would love to take all our food away and be in charge of those resources. And
they would literally kill for it, and they're very good at killing.
And so we need to protect that, and we have assassins coming at us. And on top of it, we're on a moon orbiting the home world. So we have already kind of a built-in sanctuary or security around that. And I would imagine also paranoia, or a sense of like, we're the guardian orbiting this world, like this inflated sense of ego that might not even be backed up by evidence yet.
Right. But, we like to think we're important, and important people are targets. So
yeah, of course. Yeah. So you're our they're coming to get us character.
Basically, yeah, he's sort of their go-to troubleshooter. And one of the things I love about this is that they make you put a personality trait on your character sheet. It's very, very important. And so I actually I did the sort of classic vampire thing with demeanor versus actual personality. So he comes across as very affable. He's a very likable character. He just gets along with everyone. People think he's kind of harmless. But in brackets, I put ruthless, because he's actually a cold-hearted bastard.
He's got his human suit on most of the time, and then every now and then it slips, and he shows what's really going on under the surface. And he's very friendly and very charming, but that smile will drop, and then he will drop you.
Yep, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he'll come right through your shield very slowly with that knife.
That is a talent that he in fact has. Yes.
Oh, does it? Oh, excellent. Look at me. I'm like a Dune expert now.
You did it.
And I realized we skipped a bit. We got a couple of steps here to go through our character creation. Step one is our concept, and that's our concept. And then choosing an adept or an archetype from the list. Did you have an archetype in mind?
Yes, I picked duelist.
Of course,
as the archetype.
Yeah. So its primary skill is battle, and its secondary skill is move.
Yes.
Then we got Brendan. What is?
Hello there.
What were you thinking of? You were going a little. You're not as battle ready as Sean's Mazar.
I went with an infiltrator archetype, just because I think working with the shadows is kind of fun.
We were talking about your infiltrator idea, and this house with the farming and pride were its main traits. We wrote down producing its rice, and what we've done recently to House Welderine. And you might have been the infiltrator who was who orchestrated that move, who helped move those holdings, those assets, those shares away from House Welderine into House Iosys, and has now positioned us at a place where we can make our move. And Count Lutz likely recognizes what role you played in that, in the same way that recognizes our duelist and the role you're going to play in protecting this house. And so the two of you have very much risen up closer to being at a seat at the table, right? Like, we're not part of, like, we don't have a house role. We would respond to people like Deadman Pete or to our Marshal Parachim. We don't have those roles, but we've moved on to potentially being only a step or a few steps away from being given one of those roles, right? And then I guess last but not least, my idea is I'm a bit of an outsider in the group. In order for Iosys to be able to move the rice off of Kaladin and being able to make their moves to be in a position where they could become stewards of this planet one day if Atreides ever had to leave. And there's, I'm sure there are mentats and Bene Gesserits that can see the patterns of history playing out and can tell that soon, they don't know exactly when, but maybe within the decade, the Empire is going to have to make a move against Atreides as he continues to gain power and popularity. He's also beloved by the people, and if he should be given the spice world of Dune, he wouldn't be able to stay on Kaladin anymore. And if he left this planet, he would assign a minor house to become its steward, and that might be House Iosys' ultimate goal right now, is to be in a position where they are the first house that comes to mind, the right hand of Atreides, to be given responsibility over Kaladin to look after it. And so we've made the first move with the rice, but we need to start making money and show that there's profit in this, and we need to start feeding the known universe with our productions. And there are other houses that are already doing that. There are already financial houses and trading houses within Kaladin that would be responsible for all of that stuff, where you would have to work through the Spacing Guild. And smuggling in this universe is very difficult to do if you don't have someone on the inside. So I'll be that character on the inside. I would arrive after our move against Weldarin, and I come from the Spacing Guild itself as a guild agent who is showing up on the doorstep and has offered full allegiance and loyalty to House Iosys, and I will help get your things to where they need to go. And we won't have to worry about official routes at first, but once we get to the other side and we are already feeding those worlds, we will be able to maneuver these houses in such a way that they won't be able to deny your importance and your vital place in the world. And, maybe there's an ulterior motive here where I get into more powerful positions within the Spacing Guild or the trading organization called CHOAM, and maybe one day the board of directors. I would never turn that down. If that were to be offered to me, I would be honored and I would serve at the pleasure. And so enter my smart ass smarmy smuggler is my trait, my archetype that I'm picking up. But also there are additional rules if you play with a faction. Both of you are just playing as members of Iosys, but you have the option of playing as a Bene Gesserit or a Mentat or a Spacing Guild agent. So I had a look at that. So I get the additional trait of guild agent. I'm not a navigator. I'm not moving through space. I'm very human, and there are probably many in the Spacing Guild that don't even care who I am. I'm not important on the cog, and so I'm using I'm playing a very dangerous game, because if I'm ever caught as a smuggler in the guild, I will just probably cease to exist entirely. And so as a guildsman, I get a mandatory talent where I can call upon the guild and contact them for help and advice. And I could even also take another talent, which allows me to actually smuggle things through the guild ships, which is kind of cool. As an infiltrator, they're under the adept as a smuggler, not an infiltrator, as a smuggler. I get the trait smuggle. My primary skill is move. Both of yours are your secondary skills, but that's my first one. And my secondary skill is battle. So we're actually, you and I are opposites of each other.
Opposite.
We probably have very different ideas, Sean, or Mazar, of how to go about things. You would rather look your enemy in the eye, and I would rather steal from their pockets, move it to the other place, and then sell it back to them. And so my focus is pilot and unobtrusive, my talent, subtle step, selfish by nature, as are many who flaunt the law to achieve their goals. Most tend to seek wealth and power from their work. Others take a stance driven by a sense of justice. I think I'm definitely going down the power over any of those. I'm an opportunist. I haven't thought of a name. I was hoping that would just kind of descend upon me and light the way.
Right.
But looking at yours, did you have a name in mind, Brandon? Yeah. Or I was just like an infiltrator. I didn't want to just call you infiltrator, and I was just blanking out.
I have Xavier.
Xavier with an X?
With an X, clearly.
Nice.
So we got Xavier and Mazar.
With 2 A's.
So maybe I'll go as something that doesn't have X's and Z's, something that sounds a little bit softer and rounder, which definitely sounds like I'm not from around here. So Roth, R-O-T-H. And like some of these names in Dune are both alien, and then you have like
Paul,
right?
Jessica,
or even Jessica or Gurney. Even Gurney kind of sounds like
that's a hospital bed.
Yeah, right. So maybe my last name could just be a thing, because I have this concept too. Is that the reason I'm a smuggler with the guild, and I'm working like all these back channels is I'm late to the game as an agent, because I was originally on track to become a navigator, but I washed out. And so I have spent my whole time on the secret world of Junction, where the guild trains their navigators, but I failed. I never did that, but I got a little bit of the taste of spice, and I saw a little bit of what it was like to see all of time and space in one single instance, and then it was taken away from me because I wasn't compatible. And so that has probably left me a little unhinged and a little on edge. And there's a move that you can actually get as a failed navigator, where you can spend dice to like see that, remember what it was like to see all of the universe as like a triggering PTSD flashback.
Oh, geez.
In a way that can both create complications in a scene, but also create very specific opportunities. Because the way it works is in Dune, you can, depending on your connection to spice, contact and speak to memories through time as if they are alive and standing in front of you. And you can communicate with them and converse with them. And in fact, I was just listening to this other podcast where you're getting into the really weird stuff with Paul's son, Leto, too, where he's having conversations with his own memories through thousands of years of existence.
Yep.
As if he has a council of himself to debate with. And it's very, very weird. So I wonder if that's a bit of the insanity that's kind of inside of Roth, is his what if navigator taunting and talking to him and revealing all the things he couldn't have, but as just like bad dreams now. So maybe I'm just Roth. Maybe that's all it is. It just leads to the additional secrecy of, is that my real name? Am I really who I am? All that other kind of stuff. But I seem to be able to get stuff onto guild ships, so that you can't spoof. You just can't. You don't spoof things with the guild. They'll destroy you and your planet and everyone who ever knew. So that part at least seems to be true. But why he's helping Iosys? On the other hand, you don't have much of a choice, right? You need a contact with the guild in order to do what you need to do.
He's the one we've got.
Mm-hmm. So step 3, you assign ratings to each skill. The primary skill listed in your archetype is rated as a 6. The secondary skill in your archetype is rated as a 5. The other skills are all rated at 4. You then get to add 5 more points to your skills to a maximum of 8. So for me, my move then is a 6, or at least it starts as a 6, and my battle is a 5, and the rest all start at 4. So those are your starting points, and then you have 5 more points to add to a maximum of 8 on any of those. But your focuses, you can choose 4 focuses, assign them to skills. At least 1 should be assigned to your primary skill. Your archetype will offer suggestions as you may wish. So 4 focuses. So the focuses there for duelist were dueling and short blades. But you can.
I took both of those.
You also want to create like 2 more, and you assign those. So not every skill is going to have a focus, because we have 5 skills, and you're only picking 4 focuses. But when you use a skill with your focus, it increases, if it's anything like Star Trek, it increases how normally you would only get like a critical success when you roll a 1, but instead you would roll a critical success if you rolled under the number of that focus. So if your focus is an 8, you now get a critical success for 1 to 8, right? That's a huge critical range now. And as long as your move aligns with your focus. So you could be using battle But if you're using battle while you're using a long-range weapon or a long blade or a spear, it won't work. But if you're using it with your short blade, your dagger, or anything similar, then you get the critical range increase, right?
Yeah.
So you could still use battle at 8. But when you use battle at 8 while using a short blade, you activate your focus. So you're looking at your focuses. You want them to be specific so that they come up in a moment of strategy, but not so specific that they're never used in the game. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so for my smuggler, my focus can be pilot and unobtrusive. And so I think I would put unobtrusive under move because it allows me to... I wonder if there was a strategy meeting happening at House Iosys, and I was just at the table one day, and I was just interrupting and interjecting and offering strategy, and then at one point I was like, sorry, who are you? Who let you in? Oh, Agent Ross from the Spacer Guild, at your service. I was sent to represent your house. Were you? I mean, you got into the room. Yes, I did.
You're here,
and I've just
but I mean...
been here, and if I get thrown out, I just show up at the next meeting again. And it's like one of those, like, at first it seems like a continuity error when you're watching the TV show, because this character is just standing in the room who wasn't there before.
I've always been here.
What are you talking about? How long have you been in the room? About since the beginning time. I could even do that in the game. I could use my unobtrusive focus and move into a scene without being detected, and then I could retcon it to be, I've been here since the beginning of the scene. I heard everything that was said.
Nice.
Because I also get the talent subtle step, and I think that would fit along those well-versed in methods of avoiding notice. You reveal little that you do not intend to. So when you attempt to move or otherwise pass unseen, you can assess the subtlety during a conflict, and the first extra D20 you purchase is then free. So, and combat doesn't have to be fighting either. Combat can be court intrigue, it can be a debate, it can be social, it can be, there's a lot of different ways the word combat is used in this game. And so basically almost anytime you're rolling a dice against another character, even if it's just in a duel or a debate, that would all count under the rules as combat. So that's cool. I'm definitely going to take a subtle step.
Mm-hmm.
And my other focus, what it suggests, was pilot. Yeah, I guess I need to be... I'm probably running the shuttle back and forth between the moon and Kaladin and the moon and the Spacer Guild ship. And if I'm actually going to be smuggling the rights, I guess I have to physically be the smuggler sometimes.
Right. You'd have to be able to fly a thopter, perhaps.
Yes, I'm going to put that under my battle skill. And I might put composure under communicate. Because I'm definitely playing this smarmy character who's always got a smile. And I think I'm the other way around, where you were writing down affable, ruthless. I think I'm putting it down as like, the smile under my smarmy, like there is a genuine affableness about this character, but he's not ruthless underneath. He's greedy, right? He's selfish. He comes off as, I'm here to help my fellow man, but he's not. If there's nothing in it for him, he will just leave you to starve. But he will often feed people around him because, at least in this moment in life, helping you helps him.
Nice.
I think social awareness under understand is what I'm going to put down. I can read a room, and I probably feed on awkward circumstances, because that's when things in the room change. So what were you looking at, Sean, as you were talking, or Brendan, I guess we could talk with you. Your discipline is your big one, and then your move is your second one, and the rest start at 4. And then those all boost up. As an infiltrator, it suggests the two focuses are infiltration and precision. Do you want to use those?
I think I do.
Yeah, where do you want to put infiltration?
Probably move, I'd imagine.
Your precision.
That'd be a discipline. I don't really sure where that would go.
It could go anywhere. I mean, you could put it under battle, right? The thing is with the higher the number is also sometimes means, I know with drive, you can only use your drive that's at maximum number if you are using it with your statement.
Oh, really? Okay.
Without the statement, you're not actually allowed to use the drive unless you're spending additional momentum or determination points in order to be able to use your drive freely. Otherwise, you can only use that drive when it's attached to the statement, and that creates kind of a number cap, so you're not always rolling with the high number. So like using a focus on a low skill kind of gives that lower skill a little bit more oomph.
That makes sense. Let's put it in a battle. That makes it fun.
Yeah.
I mean, as an infiltrator, sometimes you have to defend yourself. Also,
That's
you've
fair.
got 5 points to spend, so you can always, just because your battle is starting at 4, you could bring it up to a 9 if you want to dump it all in.
No, I
there.
think it
to an 8.
Yeah,
you could
max
bring it
8.
all the way up to an 8, and then spend 1 more point on your other skills if you really wanted to like boost that up and just create a weirdly inflated character. Yeah, and you also get the subtle step, just like I did.
Exactly.
So I feel like the two of you and me, maybe as like, is he flirting with you? I just keep dead dropping things into your pocket, like the reverse pickpocketing into you to see if how much I can do without you noticing. Like you're a challenge to me, Xavier.
I think that makes it fun.
I love a person with a nice geometric figure for an initial. Makes it easier to forge the signature. Yeah, and then you've got 2 other focuses you could fill in as well.
Let's go with deceit and to communicate. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's botany and to understand.
Oh, interesting.
I figure I definitely know.
You need to have a hobby.
Exactly. Or, poison. You never know.
Also, we're technically all farmers,
That's true.
right?
This is a farming house, right, guys?
Yeah.
We do rice.
Yeah. I'm good for that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Aerith Mazar, our duelist. So your big focus is battle.
Correct. So I put that all the way up to 8.
Oh, excellent. And then your big move is your second one.
So I put more points into move and understand, because I think he's kind of a balance between, like, he's a troubleshooter, so he's good at dueling, but he's also good at observing situations and reading the room. That's kind of his thing.
And so for your duelist, your dueling skill, where did that drop into battle?
I actually threw that into move.
Oh, excellent!
Because I figured that's a big part of like dueling is running around the room and dodging things. So.
Yeah, parrying and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then short blades.
That went under battle. That seemed like the place to put that. Mm-hmm. And then I also took Canly. And
you sure you don't want to put short blades into communicate?
I mean, you can say a lot with a knife.
You could speak a lot with the edge of the knife. Yeah. What was your 2 focuses?
Oh, so I also grabbed Canly and put that in battle, and I took understand and put combat awareness in understand. Because I figure him reading people, and actually that goes with the talent that I picked for him.
And so Canly, that went under communicate or discipline?
That went under, I put it under battle, but actually,
probably. Yeah, because you already put short blades under there.
Oh, right, so it only goes under 1. So in that case, I'd put that under communicate for sure.
So after talents is our drive and our drive save. Drives are very similar to focuses and talents in the way they're done. However, unlike you don't have numbers you put into it. You just get these 5 numbers. Rank the 5 drives in the order of the importance of your character. Ratings 8, 7, 6, 5, and 4. 8 is your most important. And these there's no it's just what is your most important drive for your character, right? Is duty more important than faith? And it even says, like, do you have a hard time filling this out? Don't worry about asking one against the others. Just ask one question at a time. Duty or faith? Duty or justice? Duty or power? And then rank how many times each wins those face-offs, and then that'll rank your numbers in order. So for me, I think I put power. It goes right up at the top.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I think faith is going to drop at the bottom for me just because of the gilding side. Mm-hmm. A sense of justice, a sense of duty, sense of truth. I think I'm playing more like Garrick now, don't I? From Deep Space Nine. It's like even the lies, especially the lies. And Garrick was a character that was driven by the truth and by manipulating the truth, right? By twisting the truth so many times, you didn't even know where the lies were half the times. I'm definitely going to put truth as a drive up there at the top, but it's going to be kind of inverted. My sense of duty would be higher up because I want to be on the board of directors. So then justice yeah, my ethics is in the tank.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
What are you thinking, Brendan, with your weighing your numbers?
I put duty as my primary, so
Yeah.
that is 8. Then I went power 7, truth 6, faith 5, and justice 4.
Cool. And what about you, Aerith Mazar?
I put power first at 8.
Of course you do.
Duty close second at 7, followed by justice, then truth, and very last faith.
None of us considered faith all that important.
Which is
we're
really
not
going to
a
be
very faithful
awkward
group.
when the leader of our house becomes a god messiah.
Yep.
That's really setting us up for success here.
Yeah.
He's faking. It's fine.
Was he?
No.
I don't think he was.
Well, I mean, that's arguable. That's kind of the point of the book, is that's up for debate. But
So your 3 highest drives will be given statements. Those highest drives can only be used when you use those statements, right? And so this is where the thing is, even though your justice or your faith might be low, it might be the only one you can roll with because you don't have a statement that works because your numbers are so high. So the drive statements should be easy to understand so that you and the game master can both understand when they're helpful, when they are a hindrance, and when they don't apply at all. You will want to have at least one drive statement that poses a problem for your character, because that's how you can gain more determination to spend. A drive statement is one of the driving forces of the character's worldview and personality, shaping how they interact with the world around them and providing motivation for the things that they do. You'll similarly want at least one drive statement, which is helpful to your character, because that gives you more opportunities to use a higher drive score and more opportunities to spend determination. Drive statements do not have to be positive about the drive that they're attached to. Someone with a strong drive in truth doesn't have to be honest, and someone who believes strongly in faith may believe that religion and is dangerous or harmful. So you might have strong opinions about faith or a strong worldview about faith, and it might not be that this is important to me. This is important that it is not important to me. Your drive statements can and should change over time. The game allows for a character to change their beliefs, changing the order of priority and the attached statements to reflect how people's feelings and opinions can shift over time. It doesn't matter if your drive statement contradicts one another. A person can hold conflicting beliefs, and the situations when those conflicting beliefs clash is often a source of interesting role play. A broad range is also good, so you have the option to use the statement on any test. So it can be something like, my family trusts me, or I get what I want, or I'm the heir of my house. So they're your top 3. So my top 3 is power, truth, and duty. I think my power is going to come from I will be recognized, because I should have been a navigator, and everyone recognizes them. Truth, I'm just going to write down the statement, especially the lies, just to lift that directly from Garrick. And then my duty statement, because I'm an opportunistic asshole smuggler, I think rising tide might be my statement there.
That's good.
Because I'm realizing if I help, which is fun because I'm also on a moon house, so it's probably affecting the tides of Kaladin. So the idea of by helping this house rise into power, it'll help me rise into power, and it all kind of feeds back in. So rising tide. What are you thinking? Who did I go with first last time? I'm going to change the order. I think it was last time I started with Brendan, so I'll start with Sean.
Sure. So I actually had originally made them a little longer. I think I'm revising them a bit.
Oh, you can make them as long as you want. I just don't like writing.
Oh, well, in that case,
I'm just lazy.
I will keep with what I had then.
That's what we have mentats for, Sean.
Yeah. Oh, well. I have a few around me.
Mentat, dictate this for me. Mentat, play Despacito.
Oh, God. Despacito
Just start
Mentat.
rename your Alexa Mentat.
So in that case, I will go with what I had. So for power, I put in war or politics, second best is for the weak and the dead. That's my primary drive. So he does not settle for second best.
And so then your next one down was duty.
Duty. So Iosys secured my future. I shall ensure theirs.
You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yep.
Yeah.
They took care of me. I will take care of them.
Iosys. And your justice.
What man doesn't try to make the world better?
Yeah, then you look over at Roth and you're like, oh,
That guy.
that guy.
Oh.
I'm not here about make the world better. I'm here to make my world more comfortable. All right, Xavier. Yeah, so your top one was duty.
I said house till the end.
House to the end. Which you think is going to be a very long time.
Yeah, hopefully. Who knows?
Turns out it'll be about 8 years.
Yeah, it's good enough.
Power.
I put nothing stands in my way.
What's really fun in this, if you're running a GM set a couple years before Dune, is because the world of Dune and the books are constantly dealing with themes of prescience and of the future and of ripples of time. You can play with the knowledge of what is going to happen over the next books and have them be revealed to your characters in the campaign, and that would be perfectly fine. Whereas something like Star Trek or other settings, it would be cheesing it. It would be, it would be like, Enterprise would constantly be making nods to the Borg or the Ferengi, or like all these little things that we won't really know about for 100 years. Oh, what transporters? I wonder what those are. And it always felt a little cheap, a little cheesy bit of fan service. Whereas if you did that exact same thing in Dune, it's actually part of the lore.
Yeah. Or all the backstory, because they're characters who have the genetic memory of all of their ancestors.
Right.
So, they know this stuff.
Like Assassin's Creed style. So what's your truth statement?
Truth, I have cutting through the lies.
Cutting through the lies. And with me, with Roth, that's like cutting through a rat's nest. It's just, you just never stop cutting through.
It's like a rat king.
It's just an infinite. It's like a cable. It's like that bundle of cables everyone has just underneath their bookshelf. Ugh. But with truth. All right. So then that finishes up our drives and our drive statements. And then the last bit is your character begins with 3 assets, one of which must be tangible. So like one of my assets is probably an intangible connection to chome or like trade routes or something like that. Whereas you must also have like tangible assets. These are assets you can call upon in battle or in a scene or you can bring up. And we don't have to really worry about that right now, but they'd be important in play. And so it could be for our duelist, it could be your blade, and it's not just like any blade. It's a very particularly important blade passed down through centuries, maybe rolled away from the Butlerian Jihad, and it's something that has been handed to you as this important family heirloom. Or it could be in the case of myself, it could be some spice that I used when I was washing out as a navigator, and I don't use it. I just keep it on me as like around my neck or a little vial or something, right? Like as an amulet that as a reminder of my failure or as my drive to be recognized one day, or the infiltrator. You tell me, right? So these assets can be they're items that can be common items that are made special because of their connection to you, and then they can be used like a normal knife, but then you might get additional bonuses to that because this is a special item, and they don't even have to be tangible. In the case like they could be maybe as an infiltrator you have a team, you have like a special forces that you can call upon of like 4 other, your bad batch that you can call upon, and the assets cap out at being like a military. They're people that you can like directly control or order. It could be as a duelist, it could be a connection to a guild of like a local training organization that you could call upon for backup, and so they don't have to be a physical item either. I love that, like they can be. One must be a tangible asset, but the other 2 are up to you. And then you choose a trait based on your reputation or your personality, similar to what Sean already did with the affable and ruthless. You decide on your character, a goal for your character related to your highest drive. So this is your ambition. And this ambition is something that you are hoping to accomplish soon in the game. And in fact, if you do, it will help you advance your character. You get more advancement points, and it plays through. So every character has an ambition. It guides their long-term actions. A character who takes steps to achieve their ambition will become more capable, more influential, and more effective. So your ambition should be based on your highest related drive or highest rated drive. And the game master would work with you to define one for your character. So if we were playing a proper game, the game master would already know in advance what campaign we were thinking of playing, and they would maybe help massage your drive so that it was compatible with the story we were about to get into. Because the worst thing you want to have is like, I want to become ruler of Kaladin.
Good luck.
And then the first episode we blow up Kaladin. Right,
yeah.
like, you know what I mean. Like, you don't want to have like you could have an impossibly high ambition that you're never going to achieve, but it means you always have a goal to aim for. But the last thing you'd want is to be like, I want to become Leto's best friend if the campaign is about to start a day before Leto's assassination, right? So the game master would help make sure that your ambition is compatible with the story you're about to play as. If you're playing a game that's entirely going on Dune, you might not want your ambition to be, I want to have a swim. So my number one statement, my drive was, I put down power. Yeah, that was the one that was leading me, which I'm thinking now maybe should have been truth, but I could twist that around. So ambitions for power are often about gaining influence or status, taking those things from others, manipulating those with influence. Ambitions for truth would include uncovering knowledge or revealing secrets. Okay, yeah, that doesn't. I'm not interested about that. I'm interested in the power part. Ambitions for duty are about service to a cause or a group. So who was it was duty was the highest one, and power was for both of ours.
Yep.
I guess my ambition would be to be placed in a director position, to be placed on the board of directors of CHOAM, right? I want a seat at the table. That's my ambition. I'm probably never going to achieve it, but it would inform every move I'm doing. Is this taking me towards or away from that goal, right? And the minute Iosys can't help me towards that goal, I'm selling them to House Harkonnen.
That makes sense.
Right? So for Xavier, your number one duty or drive is for duty. So your duty ambition is about service to a cause or a group, discovering or understanding one's place in the universe, or freedom from the strictures and responsibilities that constrain you. What would be your character goal, ambition?
I said to help to rise the house is what I put as my ambition.
So maybe as a game master, I would be like, to raise the house to what? Like what like is it to be like do you want Iosys to become a major house one day?
I mean, I made my...
should Atreides fall, we should take over Kaladin and be recognized as a major house.
To be fair, I did put duty as my one thing, as my top thing. So right now it's kind of how can I help this house become as big as it
and
can.
certainly that's what you want. And as a game master, I would be like, okay, but is there a specific goal for the house that you would? Because we all want to help raise the house, but if you have a specific goal of one day Iosys will be a major house,
I mean, if
that's a little bit more ambitious, right?
I mean, if they're away, we could definitely take over their role. Just saying, not gonna disparage our major house here, but if they're gone, we'll happily take the reins.
Major houses fall all the time, and minor houses then step in, or maybe we can take another planet and make it our own and become a newly recognized major house.
I mean, with all that fashion we have going on, you never know.
Yeah, exactly. If we find a planet of silkworms,
we're set.
From the planet, forget Dune. We're going to found the planet of silk.
The silk must flow.
Yeah, it's just a big marshy planet full of silkworms, giant story-high silkworms.
That sounds terrifying.
That sounds
planes
absolutely terrifying, but also awesome.
Planes of threaded silk that you can like skate on.
Oh, that sounds just the worst thing ever.
Yeah, right? There's a lot of ASMR happening on that planet. Harith Mazar, your number one was also power. But what's your ambition?
Right. So for my ambition, I put a very achievable, become unbeatable in single combat.
So you want to become One Punch Man?
Yeah. No pressure.
Become One Punch Man.
Well, because his power statement was that second best is for the weak and the dead, so he should never be second best.
So you will only fail this ambition when the game master kills you.
Yeah.
So is there a particular
right.
then? Okay, so you want to become unbeatable.
Right, so-
is there someone out there who is unbeatable that you would like to beat in a one-on-one duel? Maybe that's your ambition.
Right, defeat so-and-so.
You know, have your rumble in the Dune jungle.
Oh, man. I mean, I know characters from Dune, but that's...
Yeah, is there a character, you know Dune? Is there a character out there that you would like your character to go one-on-one with?
Oh, Raban.
In a one-on-one duel?
Defeat Raban publicly in single combat.
Who is Raban?
Raban is the heir to House Harkonnen, and he is a known duelist. And
was he the character that was played by Sting in the movie?
Yeah, Sting was that in that terrible movie. Upcoming, he's going to be
because they love their knife duels on Harkonnen. In House Harkonnen.
That's what
they
love
those.
They have gladiatorial combats all the time, and he is the best of the best.
Hey, and they've got a Canley declared against our major house, so there's a chance that you may face off against Raban in one-on-one combat.
It is entirely possible.
And so you want to defeat Raban, and you want to defeat Raban publicly,
because that would also secure that like our house is not something to mess with.
Yeah, all right, that's a very good ambition.
I like that,
and that means we can play more Sting in our game now.
I think they're going a very different direction with him in the new movie, but we'll see.
Oh God. So that's that wraps up. There's some personal details, names, appearances, relationships. There's our talents and our assets and like other minor choices. But I think that really gets our characters written down, and the rest would be filled out either as we were playing or before our session. Right. This is enough for the GM to take and like edit and do a little extra work on it. So we've had some time here building our house, learning about this world, making our characters. Before we break for the day, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this setting. One, as we always do when we're playing Session Zero, how connected do you feel to these characters after going through this process? And second, is this a campaign you would like to see play through? Because sometimes we play Session Zero goes like, actually, I don't think I want to play Cyberpunk Red. Or, holy crap, I really want to see what happens next in Symbaroum. And so we've had a couple of times playing these Session Zeros where we make these characters and we either feel exhausted or we feel really fired up. So I'd love to know where on that scale you find yourself at. Brendan, how did you feel about Dune: Adventures in the Imperium?
I think I really liked how it kind of all functioned. I do wish the character creation was a little bit more streamlined because there's a lot of going forward and backward through the book, especially when you're in your PDF. It's just a lot of like scrolling up, scrolling down, scrolling up. It was just a little tedious.
And it's frustrating because in Star Trek Adventures, the life path creation process that they've written down is very, very streamlined. And it uses almost the same rules as this. And I really wish that the Dune Adventures had a similar life path creation where you could go through your character's origin stories, choosing options and then assigning bits to your character. But that's, I think, a little too difficult in this because of the way statements and focuses work.
Right.
But it isn't exactly, you kind of need to keep that first page bookmarked because you're going to be flipping through all the others.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to see what steps you've got. And there is like a cheat sheet you can print out specifically for character creation to help you guide and like have like a map to follow. But it is a lot of, okay, now I go up to the ambitions and then I got to flip over to talents and then I got to go back to the archetype and what focuses were there. And you're going back and forth. And it would be nice to have, because they've got this option that we just did, which is making a bespoke character. And then there's another option called creation in play, where you make your character as you're playing the game. And I think that's really difficult. But they don't have the streamlined life path option that they had in Star Trek Adventures. And I really missed that here. And what about your character, Xavier? How invested do you feel in, like, would you make fan fiction about this character?
I like this character. I thought he was really fun to play as. It was fun to kind of create, and I'd love to see how he actually did work in the game.
Yeah. So is he going to take up some real estate in your imagination now?
I think a little bit, yeah.
Wonder what Xavier's up to now?
I think so.
What about you, Sean? Aerith Mazar. How did you feel about Dune: Adventures in the Imperium?
So I have a couple different thoughts. I thought the character creation generally got the world across really well. Like it made it very exciting to play in the Dune universe, which I thought was well done. But similar to you guys, I really was starting to lose hope, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like I was starting to lose momentum. I was finding it slightly frustrating to make, just to figure out how to make this character. And I wasn't sure how the mechanics were going to really come together in the game until I got to the talents. And then the talents actually kind of brought it back. I found that they were very flavorful, very evocative, and they all gave you a kind of an idea of what your character could do. And it really brought me back into the universe. And
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And the talents in Star Trek Adventures I found to be very crunchy. They were the crunchier part of the game. They were like, this talent will gain you 2 momentum when you use a thing, when you order another character around, or whenever you're doing an engineering check, take 1 extra momentum point, or things like that. Like or like feats in Dungeons and Dragons where it like gives you a bonus to roundhouse kicking. These talents, as they were written, were very role play heavy. They're all like, you can use this to call in a favor from the guild, or you can use this to see through time, or you can use this to manipulate it's really showing off that the majority of this game you may never actually fight anything in a Dune RPG. You might end up just be debate and maneuver and be part of that kind of intriguing spycraft story. And so the talents really, really support that play style with lots of options to like my character being able to smuggle things onto a guild ship to get them to a different planet, which would be incredibly dangerous for anyone who wasn't a guild agent to be able to do. And so it plays into those themes of I'm skirting with authority, and I'm pushing the envelope, and I'm playing with fire, and one day I'm going to get burned. And now that I think about it, it's very rare to see that level of roleplay prompt in a list of talents.
Like
they're almost always mechanical in nature.
Like there's a talent I took, which is a line from, a lot of the talent names are lines from the book, which I thought was really neat. So I took to fight someone is to know them. And literally you learn things about someone by fighting them. And you have to pick a skill when you take it. It doesn't have to be battle. So it's like doing like an insight check to read someone, but you're doing it while you're fighting them. Yeah,
and it's not about winning or losing. You're just dueling or fencing. But as you do that, you learn important qualities and traits about that character.
You can be Grand Admiral Thrawn in this game, which is just amazing. It's so cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
This would be a really cool system of rules to use, because there isn't really a Star Wars RPG anymore now that Fantasy Flight has shut their tabletop RPG division down. They're just focusing on board games. So Edge of the Empire is out of print. So there isn't really a license out there for a Star Wars RPG. And I feel like a system like this would work really well, because Star Wars is far too often thought to just be about dogfighting and blaster firing. But the best stories out there are Thrawn and Tarkin and, characters maneuvering for power within these like systems of power. And, it would be really interesting to see something like that work into this.
Mm-hmm. But overall, I think they did a pretty good job. I would have liked it to be a little more streamlined to get me more into the game without the sort of the headache of back and forth.
Yeah, well, and it is something too that we didn't get into it much, but if you're actually playing the game, you might be an agent on a planet and sending people off to do things on your behalf, and you could choose to play those characters as support players who then go off on like a one-shot mission where you play as a different character for a scene, because there might be no reason for you to send the Spacer Guild smuggler or the duelist out on this trip. They stay behind on Iosys or on Ios, and you play as essentially a Star Trek redshirt for an episode. And then when you're done, that character is reabsorbed in terms of advancement points that they earned back into your primary character. And then that support character can live in the background, and another player could play that person the next time you need to have a pilot, and someone could play that pilot, because no one is currently playing an orthocopter pilot. And so you could have this character that can show up. And then I keep talking about Star Trek because Star Trek Adventures lives in my brain, but Chief O'Brien would have started as a transporter chief support character before becoming a primary character in Deep Space Nine, but it would have started as mechanically in the game as a support character first. We need someone to be in the transporter room to beam the away team up, but that's not important enough to be a single player character that you play full time. You're only going to play that in specific scenes where you need this character to come in. And you could do that, and it expects, they've made it much more robust in Dune, where they expect you to be playing support characters a lot in Dune.
Right.
And so a lot of the reasons why I think the character creation process in this book isn't as streamlined and plays more like a checklist is you might be coming back to this chapter several times as you're playing the campaign to create your Gurney Hallex and your other B roster that are going to be brought in for specific uses, and then go back into the background and then be brought back and forward whenever they're called upon. And so I get the impression that as not streamlined as it is, it would flow if you're having to come back to it a lot.
I can see that.
When you're only having to reference specific things to fill in what you need. Mm-hmm. And I think they anticipated that. Unlike other games, the character creation process is going to be something that you're going to end up repeating several times, and it's going to become more secondhand than it would in others. Where in Star Trek, you make your main cast, and then you're done. And you might make a B character, but you're not really going to invest a lot of time into them unless you end up playing them a lot more. So you end up the creation in play rules are more than enough to support that. Whereas if you made a Gurney Halleck as a support character, creation and play might not work as well. You're going to want to know their motivations, their ambitions, their statements and focuses before you roll the first die.
Right.
So, all right, the last question then for you, Sean. Aerith Mazar. How invested do you feel about Mazar? Is this a character you would love to actually play in a campaign and see where they go?
Oh, heck yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like this character. I like everybody's characters in this game, actually. I would play this campaign.
Yeah, maybe we will. I mean, the movie's coming out later this year, so maybe Dune is something we're going to look, because I love the 2D20 system. It's kind of story-based, but it's got a little bit of crunch to remind me of those early days playing D&D. So that's kind of all I've got for us now. Thank you so much. This was a very long episode going through, so I appreciate the time you spent with me. Like Dune, you don't think you're going to spend as much time with it, and then you do, and you go down the rabbit hole. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. Final thoughts before I wrap things up with the credit roll.
I think it's good. I think it's really well structured. I think, as I said, the only downside I had was the character creation, but I think once you get past that, I think there's a lot of value to the game. So
I believe it passes the test, and it is human. It will not get the Gom Jabbar.
And for me, this sounds like it would be interesting stories. And if you're looking for a game that isn't out to like run dungeons and fight monsters, even Star Trek, I found the phaser fire would end up happening. You'd end up having the fight with the Romulans. You have Star Trek does that all the time. You end up the final act. You pull out your phasers and you have a little show off. That doesn't happen as much in Dune, and so it's got a bit of a slow burn pace. And this is a system that I really like. The drive system. I really like writing those statements down and having those prompts on your page, because you don't just have your ambition. You have like almost 5 statements written onto your character page when you create your character that are all a cross section of what is important to them that you can look at. So if you feel that you're not a strong improviser, this system will help you carry your character over that hill, and give you those prompts that you need in those moments. And if you're looking for something that is more about intrigue and deception and diplomacy, this might be something to really look into. And I think it's going to complement the movie when it comes out this year very well. I think they've timed this out really wonderfully. And it's a beautiful book. It's got some amazing writing and art. And if you're a Dune fan, I think this is a no-brainer. If you're the kind of person who likes collecting anything Dune, it's just like the Alien RPG or the Star Trek RPG. We're living in a really wonderful time where it used to be that IP being attached to a game like this would make the game cheaper, and that it is not the case anymore. When a game comes out that's based on an IP like this, a lot of love and care has gone into it.
Oh, the art direction for this is so good.
Yeah, and even as you mentioned, there's so much direct quotes in the book. There's so much language and understanding. Like they understand this setting. And even as someone myself who I haven't read the books, I've just listened to podcasts who have read the books. I can still get the passion for this world through this book, and I understand a little bit more about Dune having read this in a way that I wouldn't having read something more academic like a wiki page.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, that's all we've got for today. Thank you for joining us on another Session Zero. As always, if you're a supporter on our Patreon page, we'll be posting these character sheets on that page for you to be able to download and have. So you got a section of pre-generated characters or inspiration for your next campaign, and we've got more coming out every day in terms of we're still recording stuff as we go into the summer now. So be sure to follow us on Twitter at Dice Warriors, where you can stay up to date on what we are doing. I've done a lot on our website to break everything down to the different sections, because we've been doing session zeros and spotlights and behind the screens, and it's all there, and I hope it's a lot of user friendly, but I'd love to hear your feedback on what that site looks like. So you can always contact me at feedback@terriblewarriors.com, or find me on Twitter myself at Mr. Ecock. Brendan, where can we find you? You got Comics and Gaming Magazine still doing their thing.
I do. cgmegaonline.com, or you can follow me directly at bfry26 on Twitter and bfry26 on Instagram if you care.
And Sean, you're doing your thing, right? And you'll be back for more episodes with us.
100%.
So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us, my dear listener, and for taking us for following us down this sandy rabbit hole. And until we meet again, when we're rolling dice at our tables and spending time and breathing the same air, be good to each other. Bye.
Bye-bye.